Ladies and gentlemen, in this life, there's two types of fakes: a fake fake and a real fake. Most people are fake or pretend to be something else, or actors or pro wrestlers, whatever, where you're providing a fake version of yourself, but it's based on reality. But some people are really fake. Now, Clifford Irvin, the fake creator of the Howard Hughes papers or books, eventually served jail time for ripping off Life magazine and the American public. But Clifford Irving was related to this guy in a lot of ways, which is featured in the classic documentary film F for Fake, Elmyr. Now, Elmyr De Hory was a famed Hungarian-born painter and art forger. He could recreate the best of artists of what's considered the 19th and 20th century era. He is claimed he is responsible for producing over 1,000 forgeries that were sold to reputable art galleries all over the world. Again, these activities garnered celebrity from a Clifford Irving book called Fake. Did that inspire Clifford for Howard Hughes? We don't know. And a documentary essay film, again by Orson Welles, F for Fake. One third of the movie is based on Elmyr's interviews and what he did. Now, he claimed he was born to an aristocratic family, that his father was an Austro-Hungarian ambassador, and his mother came from a family of bankers. However, subsequent investigation has suggested that Elmyr more likely had a middle-class childhood. He was born Elmyr Albert Hoffman on April 14, 1906. An acquaintance said that he was born in Budapest, 14th of April 1905, but that he would change the date to 1914 to appear younger. Both his parents were Jewish. His father's occupation was listed as a wholesaler of handcrafted goods. His parents did not divorce when he was 16, as he inserted in the Clifford Irving biography. At the age of 16, he began formal art training at an artist colony in Romania. At 18, he joined the Akademie Heinemann Art School in Munich to study classical painting. In 1926, he moved to Paris and enrolled in the Académie de la Grande Chaumière, where he studied under Fernand Léger. By the time he concluded his traditional education in Paris in 1928, the focus of his studies in figurative art had been eclipsed by Fauvism, Expressism, Cubism, and other non-traditional movements, all of which made his art appear passé, out of step with new trends and public tastes. This harsh reality and the economic shockwaves of the Great Depression dimmed any prospects of his making a living from his art. New evidence, through Geneva police records, indicated charges and arrests that he committed for minor crimes during the late 20s and early 30s to support himself. Now, when he returned to Hungary at the outbreak of the Second World War, shortly after, he became involved with a British journalist and a suspected spy. This friendship landed him in a Transylvania prison for political dissidents in the Carpathian Mountains. During this time, he befriended a prison camp officer by painting his portrait. Later, during the Second World War, Elmyr was released. Now, within a year, he was imprisoned in a German concentration camp for being both a Jew and a homosexual. His homosexuality was proven over time, and while investigation into his past has shown that he was one time christened as a Calvinist, such an ostensible religious affiliation did not stop the Nazi government from targeting a Jew for extermination. He was severely beaten and was transferred to a Berlin prison hospital, from which he escaped. He returned to Hungary, and it was there, he said, that he learned that his parents had been killed and their estate confiscated. However, according to Marc Forger's account, both Elmyr's mother and brother were listed as Holocaust survivors. Now, upon arriving in Paris after the war, Elmyr attempted to make an honest living as an artist, but soon discovered that he had uncanny ability to copy the styles of noted painters. In 1946, he sold a pen and ink drawing to a British woman who mistook it as an original work by Picasso. His financial desperation trumped these scruples, as was most often the case for the next 2 decades. To his mind, it offered redemption from the starving artist scenario, but threats by the comfortable rationalization that his buyers were getting something beautiful at friendly prices. He began to sell his Picasso pastiche to art galleries around Paris, claiming that he was a displaced Hungarian aristocrat, and his offerings would remain from his family's art collection, or else he had been acquired from them directly from the artist with whom he had known during his years in Paris. That same year, Elmyr formed a partnership with Jacques Chamelin, who became his art dealer. They toured Europe together, selling the forgeries until Elmyr discovered that, although they were supposed to share the profits equally, Chamberlain had spent most of the money. Elmyr ended the relationship and resumed selling his fakes on his own. Now, after a successful sale of drawings in Sweden, he bought a one-way ticket to Rio in 1947. There, living from the sales of his fakes, he resumed creating his own art through the sales of his portraits, landscapes, and still lifes in his own avant-garde style. Did not, unfortunately, bring him the kind of money he had been accustomed to from his newly created masterworks. Now, in August 47, he visited the States on a 3-month visa and decided to stay there, moving between New York, LA, Miami, and Chicago for the next 12 years. Elmyr expanded his forgeries to include works in the manner of Matisse, Modigliani, and Renoir. When some of the galleries Elmyr had sold these forgeries to were becoming suspicious, he began to use pseudonyms and he sold his work by mail order. Some of Elmyr's many pseudonyms, including Louis Cassou, Joseph Dory Boutin, Elmyr Herzog, Elmyr Hoffman, and Iranial. Fernando Legros listed Elmyr's pseudonyms: Elmyr De Hory, Elmyr Hoffman, Elmanta alias Hoffman, Baron De Hory, Hurry, Baron Reynaud, Comte de Herzog, Baron de Bugnier, Von Bayade, Bunchi, Elmyr Lazio, Dory Boutin, Castle Robert or Castle Charles, Louis Carrel or Carrel Charles. His success came to a halt in Boston after he sold one of his Matisse paintings to the Fogg Museum at Harvard in the mid-50s. Shortly after his sale, he offered a Modigliani and Renoir a drawing from his collection. An alert curator noted a stylistic similarity among the 3 drawings and refused to buy them. She then began contacting other institutions and galleries, asking if they knew or had purchased artworks from the debonair Iranial. The American Art Network thereby learned of the suave collector and seller of dubious works by modern masters. Now, in 1955, Elmyr sold several forgeries to Chicago art dealer Joseph Faulkner, who later discovered they were fakes. Faulkner pressed charges against Elmyr and initiated a federal lawsuit against him, alleging mail and telephone fraud. He later moved to Mexico City, where he was briefly detained and questioned by police there, not for his artistic endeavors, but regarding his connection to a suspect in the murder of a British man whom Elmyr claimed he had never met. When the Mexican police attempted to extort money from him, he hired a lawyer who also attempted to extort money from him by charging heavy legal fees. Elmyr paid the lawyer with one of his forgeries and returned to the States. I'm telling you, man. On his return, Elmyr discovered that his paintings were fetching high prices at numerous art galleries and was incensed that the galleries had only paid him a fraction at what they thought the works were worth. It is estimated that all of Elmyr's forgeries were sold for more than $50 million in today's value. Further compounding Elmyr's plight was that the manner of his forgeries had become recognizable. He was now a person of interest to the FBI. This unwanted attention may have prompted Elmyr to temporarily abandon his fakery and resume creating his own artwork once more. This led to an aesthetic existence in a low-rent apartment near Pershing Square in LA. Here he had limited success, mostly selling paintings of pink poodles to interior decorators. However, his self-imposed exile was not to his liking. He decided to return to the East Coast to produce art forgeries, for which he always found an eager buyer. Eventually, in Washington, D.C., Elmyr began an ill-fated association with a picture dealer that ended in disaster. Now, in 1959, suffering from depression, he attempted suicide by overdosing on sleeping pills. A friend rescued him and called an ambulance. His stomach was pumped, and after staying in a hospital, he convalesced in New York City, helped by an enterprising young man, Fernando Legros. Legros' account of dealings with Elmyr differed substantially from his own. He portrays Elmyr as an aggressive and persistent conman who suckers Legros in the belief that he's a needy, impoverished aristocrat deserving Elmyr's charity, whereas in reality he's a person wanted by Interpol under a multitude of different aliases and convicted of a variety of crimes, forgery and fraud being not the least of them. Elmyr is the object of pursuits, conviction, and expulsions from, get this, France, Switzerland, Italy, Federal Germany, Great Britain, Mexico, the States, and Canada. for false check writing without funds, check forgery, committing forgery while carrying a false name, theft, receiving and purveying of stolen goods, and embezzlement. In Elmyr's account, Legros accompanying Elmyr back to Miami, where he continued to regain his health. When he imprudently took Legros into his confidence, the other man quickly recognized an opportunity and importuned the artist and let him sell his work in exchange for 40% of the profits, with Legros assuming all the risks inherent in sale of forgeries. With Legros, Elmyr again toured the States. In time, Legros demanded his cut to be increased to 50%, when in reality, Legros was already keeping much of the profit. Now, on one of these trips, Legros met Riel Lazare, a French Canadian who later became his lover. The two had an all-time relationship, and in late 59, Elmyr decided to leave the two and return to Europe. In Paris, Elmyr unexpectedly ran to Legros. Elmyr revealed to him that some of his forgeries were still back in New York. According to Elmyr, Legros devised a plan to steal the paintings and sell them, making a name for himself in his art gallery in the process. Now, later that year, Elmyr's account continues. Legros persuaded Elmyr to resume their partnership. Legros and Lazare would continue to sell Elmyr's work and agreed to pay him a flat fee of $400 a month, enough to guarantee Elmyr a comfortable living and frisk-free life in his newfound home, the Spanish Mediterranean island of Ibiza. Now, De Hory always denied that he had never ever signed any of his forgeries with the name of the artist whom he was imitating. This is an important legal matter since painting in the style of the artist is not a crime. Only signing a painting with another artist's name makes it a forgery. This may be true, and Legros may have signed the paintings with the false names. Now in 64, then 58, Elmyr began to tire of these forgery business, and soon his work began to suffer. Consequently, many art experts began noticing that the paintings they were receiving were forgeries. Some of the galleries examining Elmyr's work alerted Interpol, and the police were soon on the trail of Legros and Lazare. Legros sent Elmyr to Australia for a year to keep him out of the eye of the investigation. Now by 66, more of Elmyr's paintings were revealed as forgeries. One man in particular, Texas oil magnate Alger H. Meadows, to whom Legros had sold 56 forged paintings, were so enraged to learn that most of his collection was forged that he demanded the arrest and prosecution of Legros. Alarmed, Legros decided to hide from police at Elmyr's house on Ibiza, where he asserted ownership and threatened to evict Elmyr. Coupled with this and with Legros' increasingly violent mood swings, Elmyr decided to leave Ibiza. Legros and Lazare were apprehended soon thereafter and imprisoned on charges of check fraud. Now, Elmyr continued to elude the police for some time, but tired of life in exile, decided to move back to Ibiza to accept his fate. Now, in August 68, a Spanish court convicted him of crimes of homosexuality, showing no visible means of support, and consorting with criminals Legros, sentencing him to 2 months in prison in Ibiza. He was never directly charged with forgery because the court could not prove that he ever created any forgeries on Spanish soil. He was released in October 68 and expelled from Ibiza for 1 year. During the time, he resided in Torrelodones, Spain. Now, 1 year following his release, Elmyr, by then a celebrity, returned to Ibiza. He told his story to Clifford Irving, who wrote the biography Fake, the story of Elmyr De Hory, the greatest art forger of our time. He appeared in several television interviews and was featured with Irving in the Orson Welles documentary, F for Fake, which came out in 1973. In Welles' film, Elmyr questioned what it was that made his forgers inferior to the actual paintings created by the artists he imitated, particularly since he had fooled so many experts and were always appreciated when it was believed they were genuine. In F for Fake, Welles also poses questions about the nature of the creative process, how trickery, illusion, and duplicity often prevailed in the art world, and thus, in some respects, downplays the culpability of the art forger, Elmyr, and outliers like him. Now, during the early 70s, Elmyr again decided to resume painting, hoping to exploit his newfound fame. This time, he would sell his own original work. While he had gained some recognition in the art world, he made little profit and soon learned that French authorities were attempting to extradite him to stand trial on fraud charges. This took quite some time, as Spain and France had no extradition treaty at the time. On December 11, 1976, Elmyr's live-in boyfriend and companion Mark Forgy informed him that the Spanish government had agreed to extradite Elmyr to France. Shortly thereafter, Elmyr took an overdose of sleeping pills and asked Forgy to accept his decision and not intervene or prevent him from taking his life. However, Forgy later went for help to take Elmyr to a local hospital. Though en route, he died in Forgy's arms. Clifford Irving has expressed doubts about Elmyr's death, claiming he may have faked his own suicide in order to escape extradition, but Forgy has dismissed their theory. Now, in popular culture, much going on. Real fake, again, the Art, Life, and Crimes of Elmyr De Hory, a documentary of Jeff Oppenheim, 2018. Elmyr De Hory, Le Fossier de Sec, was produced by Dominic Barneau and Jeff Oppenheim for Art TV, 2017. Intent to Deceive, Fakes and Forgeries in the Art World, an exhibition. The Forger's Apprentice, the musical. The Forger's Apprentice, written by Mark Forgy, performed at Fringe Festival. Portrait of an Unidentified Man, a one-man play. National Public Radio, Snap Judgment, an interview with Mark Forgy. F for Fake. Restaurant in Atlanta's Little Five Points is named Elmyr for him, and his walls are covered in fakes of famous paintings. The song No More Heroes by British punk rock band The Stranglers mentions Elmyr in the line, "Whatever happened to the great Elmyr?" But it's unclear if this is an error, an intentional feminization, or Elmyr as a separate exclamation after. A character based on Elmyr appears in the incomplete final Tintin story, Tintin Alf Art. Elmyr is also mentioned in Dale Bassey's Fibble, Where the Flying Kids Go, the fourth in the series. In Faked, Strange Fake, the caster servant, whose ability entails modifying and recreating legends, states if you wanted something to recreate legends without limit, you have to call Elmyr. The documentary Almost True, The Noble Art of Forgery was also a success. So is most of the information I just presented real or fake? Well, I'll let you determine. But when I first saw F for Fake, I said to myself, this is kind of a cliche, an old poofter that basically is saying what everything I do is fake, but yet I'm better than the people I am faking. I think he was better, said he was better than Picasso and everybody else. But if you watch F for Fake, you'll see what I mean. It's a fascinating portrait, especially Clifford Irving being caught in the Howard Hughes thing right after. It's quite fascinating. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we're doing here with our kind of our entertainment and movie podcast or TV podcast, because Elmyr would have been great to tell the truth or even to lie, let us know with a like, comment, subscribe, or share.